Okay, so we're back. We're in this building here. It looks like it was used as a place where they were making cloth, yarn.
South Dakota. Yeah. We're doing a little bit of spinning right now, and thankfully this is the easy part of the job. Because the spinning wheel is doing all the hard work and all the heavy lifting for me, so I'm just kind of along for the ride. Because what I'm doing is I'm pressing down on this pedal by my foot. That's what's spinning my wheel, and my wheel powers the drive band. One drive band looped around itself. Front half, close to you guys, is what spins this U-shaped piece called your flyer. The back half of the drive band closer to me spins the bottom. That's where my yarn ends up. And since my flyer's U-shaped and it's twisting as it goes, that is what's adding all the twist into my yarn. And since my bottom's a little smaller than that, that is what pulls on all my yarn. So twist and pull. It's honestly all my wheel does, but it's all I need. Because now I can take a little bit of fuzz. This is wool from some sheep. I overlap that with a little bit of the yarn I have already made. And as that twist travels up, it wraps all of that fuzz around. So all I gotta do is take a clean, fresh end, take a little bit of fuzz, add a little bit of twist, and it makes it all into one piece of yarn. So all that's left for me is to pinch, controlling where that twist goes, and slide my hands down, controlling how much fiber interacts with. Making it sound easy, right?
And we're calling that yarn.
We're calling it yarn. So anything that I'm gonna take and put onto a loom is called yarn in the 18th century. So everything I make is gonna go onto a loom, so everything I make would be yarn. But if you take this and you decide you want to tie something up with it, now I call it string. If you take this and you decide you want to sew something with it, now you're going to call it thread. They're all the exact same thing, just depends on what you use it for. Yeah, that really is truly the only thing different in that definition. So if I were to take a blanket and pick some yarn out of it so I could tie something together, I'd be turning yarn into string. And after I tied something together, if I took that and threaded it through a needle and sewed something with it, I'm turning yarn into string into thread. And then afterwards, if I sit back down on the loom and weave it again, it's gone full cycle. So for me, it's just twisted fiber. That is truly and honestly all there is to it.
That's pretty cool.
And that could be, whether it could be wool or hemp or...
So it's all made out of the same stuff. We like to work with wool today because this is going to be my fastest fiber, and speed is a huge issue in the 18th century, because if I sit here and I spin this wool non-stop, it's going to take me 12 straight hours of spinning to make enough yarn to keep a weaver busy at a loom for 1 hour. And wool is your fastest fiber. It's not our favorite fiber though. Our favorite's actually the grass on the wall right behind you there. That is the flax plant, same plant you get flax seeds from. But if I take that plant, process it down, get the fiber out of it, we call that fiber line, and what I make out of it is where linen comes from. That's my preferred fiber, but that's not a 12-to-1 ratio, it's a 25-to-1 ratio. And there are certain fibers we just don't work with very often in the 18th century. One of your most common fibers today is cotton, but we really do not like working with cotton back then, because it's my most labor-intensive fiber. According to Jefferson, it's over 100 hours of processing to get enough fiber for 1 hour of weaving. So it's all about speed, and that's why we like working with wool, because that's going to be your fastest fiber. So we work with quite a bit of it today. And then we also do other things with it. A lot of times we'll experiment with 18th century dye recipes. Dyeing is its own trade in the 18th century, but we're trying to understand as much of the 18th century textile production process as we can. And as a protein or animal-based fiber, this is going to take color very well, whereas my cellulose fibers, my linens and my cottons, don't take dye particularly well.
How did you dye it?
So your dyes are mostly inedible plants, usually hardwood, slow-growth tropical trees from Central and South America. You take the wood chips, you grind them up, you toss them into a pot, you cook them down, you prep and clean your fiber, and then it is basically just making the world's worst cup of tea with something floating in it. Because when you pull it out, you'll get color. It's a simple and straightforward process. It's just understanding the different variables, because anything that you change in that process will completely alter what shades you're able to get. But by specializing in it, because your dyers specialize, they serve a 7-year-long unpaid apprenticeship, they should be able to get you quite literally every shade of every color in the world.
7 years unpaid.
That's going to be true for everything. So if you want to be a weaver, apprenticeship. You want to be an engraver? Apprenticeship. My bookbinder, my wig maker, my silversmith, they all serve apprenticeships. That's how you get a formal education in the 18th century. It's how you get to be one of these skilled professionals. It's also one of the reasons why, especially in a place like Williamsburg, most of us really don't want to mess with that apprenticeship. I don't need to serve an apprenticeship if I want to be a farmer, and traditionally speaking, tobacco is what pays best in a place like Virginia. So you'd actually be hard pressed to find a lot of people doing this. Williamsburg is one of the only places you'd be able to come to see a lot of this. For most of the rest of us, we spend all of our lives growing tobacco, and when we need something, we go to the store and buy it. Made by somebody else somewhere else, it's a lot easier that way. Williamsburg's a little bit special because this town would have been really wealthy, and then once the war breaks out, incredibly patriotic. So we are willing to lose money making stuff as a fashion statement and as a political protest. You want fabric, my recommendation is always going to be to buy British-made fabric. In 1776, only about 5% of my fabric's being produced domestically. The rest of it, made in Europe, shipped across the ocean, or at the very least shipped through Europe.
Didn't Britain have some rules in place about the colonies making their own things and manufacturing their own
The
things?
entire point of sailing 3,000 miles across the ocean, walking into what the British are considering to be the wilderness, founding a colony, and paying to support it for the last 170 years, is that I'm going to do things you can't do in Britain, and I'm not going to do things you can do in Britain. It's one of the reasons why 19 out of every 20 Virginians are tobacco farmers. You can try all day long if you want. Tobacco just doesn't seem to grow really well in the British Isles. So we are going to specialize in tobacco production. Every colony is going to have something that they would consider to be their lucrative part of the trade. The hope is that each of these colonies does something for their parent country, and that the parent country does something for us. It's the big reason why I'm making fabric. This is their #1 industry in the British Isles. So when I get mad at the Brits, I make fabric. I lose money, but I hurt their economy in the process. And before the war, it cost too much to make it myself, so I'm going to stick with cheap imported British goods, and as long as nobody shoots at the British, I just don't worry about anything. And we're never going to shoot at the British, right, everybody? They laugh every time I ask that question. That's why I'm making fabric today. So when we talk about fabric production, don't imagine this is something that's going to happen in everybody's home. This is not a household chore in the 18th century. Picture this as something that the super wealthy are having their enslaved populations do as a form of protesting and showing off their wealth. So this is my Vote for Washington sign in the front lawn. It's not something I got to do when I got nothing better to do. I'll never be able to make enough fabric for myself, and I'm going to lose money whenever I try. Isn't Britain great, everybody?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Take a look around. I got to keep the wheel power, so that means caffeine.
Oh yeah. I'm just admiring how that the string is set.
So like I said, I got my drive band here, but my yarn goes through my orifice. This is open here, so it can spin onto that hook right there where it's attached. Attached versus open. That's actually how I add all the twist into my yarn. Wow. And then it ends up here on my bobbin, and it ends up there because my bobbin's a little bit of a smaller gear. It spins a little bit faster. So from slow to fast, that's actually what's going to pull my yarn in as we go. And add a twist the whole time.
Oh yeah. We just take stuff like that for granted nowadays, but back then.
Absolutely, and frankly, most people in the 18th century, at least in a place like Virginia, probably would have taken it for granted too.
Yeah. Yep. Nice talking to you, man.
Absolutely, enjoy.
Yeah,
I
sure.
was checking everywhere. Somebody said somebody fell at the greenhouse door and no one fell there, no one fell.
Nobody fell here?
Cool. Even better. Take care, bud.
All right, hope you find them.
I don't.
Hang around. Somebody might fall.
I know, right?
Yeah. Okay, so that guy's spinning yarn. And, oh, yeah, okay, that's a private residence. Ooh, ooh. So, this place is pretty awesome. I mean, oh wow, look how they do this here. So this, instead of having a spring, they have a weight. I've never seen anything like that. Look at that. It's brutally simple and effective. Genius. All right, so let's carry on. This building I was just in, the fellow was in there spinning yarn. Greenhow Tenement. Merchant John Greenhow acquired this building before 1782. In 1801, document identifies it as a tenement or rental property. Little is known about its occupants. So, wow. Like the little details they go through, you know, these things like this, and then the locks to lock all that up, you know, in case of really bad weather or something, you know. I imagine back then, even this glass like this was probably expensive, so you wouldn't want it to get damaged in a storm. Okay, I went the wrong way just a little bit, but we're going to go to the blacksmith shop. Head that way right now. If you come here, do be careful walking on these. They are imperfect and unlevel. So, do need to pick your feet up, watch where you're going. You could get hurt. I got up pretty early today, which is kind of uncharacteristic for me. I'm not an early morning, early worm gets the bird kind of guy. I'm more of the, I'll wait it out. I usually sleep late, but I didn't today. So I got up today, ran a couple of errands, and then came back here. Normally, me and the wife wouldn't be staying someplace like where we're staying. Someplace, although we do like places like this. But look at this. Beautiful horses. Absolutely gorgeous animals. Beautiful dog.
She did have one last time.
Anyway, yeah, I had to run a couple of errands. And then I came back here. Like I was saying, don't normally stay in places like this. Well, like that hotel. I do like to come see places like this, though. So, but, you know, but anyway. So anyway, I'm going to pause this and be right back. Okay, we're back. Just took a little break here, doing a lot of walking. And I thought I'd show you something here. Look at all these bits. They're bits of seashells. Yeah, so there's holes. See right there. See, reusing and recycling. Well, that's something we've been doing a long time. Nothing new. Okay, y'all. Found some sheep here. Probably pinned up something similar to like how they would have done back in the day. So, pretty neat. thought this was kind of interesting how they made this brick sidewalk. They took some brick and they're actually on a slant. Then they have curved brick here. Really interesting. Then you got somebody's garden right here, and it looks fantastic. It's evident they are coming in here and working on this thing every little bit. Looks great though. Not a gardener myself, but I can appreciate when somebody spends a hell of a lot of time on this, because my folks do that. They do a lot of gardening. So anyway, all right, let's carry on here. So right back here is the blacksmith shop, but unfortunately you have to have a ticket. So I guess I'm gonna go get one. So I'm gonna come back to this. I think there's some kind of store over here across the street. I'm gonna go over here and see what that's all about.